The 18 Strong Podcast, episode 125, with three-time PGA Tour winner Scott Stallings.
If my body's strong and my I move well, how am I not going to be a better golfer? I mean, McIlroy has gone back and forth with Brandel about being strong and this and that, and how your body can't move well. But I agree 100% with what Rory said, and we've had this conversation, him and I. Being in good shape and being strong, that's not wrong.
Right.
Don't make us feel like it's wrong just because it's new.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast, where we have an incredible treat for you this week. Now, I know that you often listen to the show to get the inside scoop from some of the people that work with the guys on tour, but one of my goals for 2017 with the show is to bring on some of the players that you watch on a regular basis on TV. You know, we all want to know what the tour players are doing, how they do what they do, and, what are the secrets they have to training effectively and obviously playing the best golf possible, and how you can take those secrets and use them in your own game. Well, I'm happy to say that I had the chance to chat this week with Scott Stallings, three-time PGA Tour winner, and we got to discuss just about everything that you can think of when it comes to his time on tour so far. So at the age of 31, Scott's already had a career that's been filled with some major highs and even some big lows. And in our interview, Scott shares with us some of the experiences that have really defined his career and have helped him grow as both a person and a player on and off the course, which I think is great because that's a big mission of the show here at 18 Strong is, how do we empower ourselves and you as the golfer, both on and off the course, not just with the exercises that you do in the gym. So in this episode, Scott expands on how important the support system he has around him has been to helping him not just get on the tour, but also to help him get through some of these difficult times. And we discussed his suspension that he had in 2015 and all the issues that surrounded those events, including a major health scare that ultimately led him to putting much more emphasis on his health and his fitness. As a family man and a husband, Scott discusses the fact that he realizes his nutrition and his workouts are obviously super important to keeping him competitive on the golf course, but even more importantly, he wants to make sure that he's doing the right things to support a long and healthy, fulfilled life off the course, and that he's being a good example to his kids and all the other kids that are watching him on TV. So there's so many things that I'm excited to share with you from this episode. But before we get to Scott, let me just take a second here to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, which again is Rad Roller. Now, this past week, Ryan and I had a chance to make a trip down to the PGA show in Orlando, and we had a chance to catch up with Nick from Rad Roller, or I guess we should say that we had to fight for a chance to catch up with Nick because he was so busy at their booth that it was kind of hard to find some time in between him working with customers and clients to really get to chat about what's going on and what's new with the company. But if you've never been to the PGA show, it's kind of crazy how big it is and how many products are there. But the past couple of years, there has been an entire area of the convention center dedicated to the health, fitness, and performance side of the game of golf. And I can easily say that Rad Roller was one of the most popular and busiest booths that I saw there. So the word is definitely getting out on the products. Now, in case you aren't familiar with Rad Roller yet, these are products that are basically massage and release tools to help you work on your body and relieve some of those tight and troublesome areas that you might have. And because they have so many different sizes and styles of the product, you can definitely find one that specifically works for whatever the part of the body that you're looking for to get the maximum benefit. For instance, they have their newest product, which this is the first time that I had a chance to see it, called the Atom. And this thing's awesome. It's basically a sphere that's a little bit bigger than a softball and can be used for a lot of different areas of the body. And again, what I love about the products is that they all integrate together. So this sphere can also slide onto the Rad Rod, and you can use it almost like a rolling pin with that ball shape to be able to kind of use it on different areas. One of the big things that I like about the Atom is that it's big enough to use on areas like the pecs and the glutes, but I especially like it to use it in the abdominal region, which is often an overlooked region when we're doing some of the soft tissue stuff. So I'm a big fan of what Kelly Starrett would call gut mashing, which is basically using the ball on the abdominal region to help break up some of the tightness around our midsection. And this even helps the body relax a little bit by stimulating our parasympathetic nervous system and the digestive tract. We could do a whole show on that whole topic, so I'm gonna move on from that. But I highly suggest you take a look at the Rad Roller products if you're looking for some tools to work on your own body, or if you're a clinician or a fitness pro and you're looking to work with some clients in a fitness or medical setting. I'm telling you, these products are legit. So go check them out at radroller.com, and then be sure to use your 18 Strong code and you'll get your sweet discount. Okay, I hope you're as excited to hear the interview with Scott as I am to share it with you, so let's get to it. Here's 3-time PGA Tour winner Scott Stallings. Scott, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast. It's so great to have you on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to kind of getting this thing rolling.
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to just say, fantastic finish last weekend at the Career Builder Challenge. So if you could, just give us a little recap on what happened this past weekend and how you ended up with such a strong finish.
It was a good week, man. Kind of had some unique weather in La Quinta. Not a lot of people go to the desert in the wintertime to see rain and 30-mile-an-hour wind,
yeah.
Especially us. And I mean, it seems like every day we've been there, the past 7 years on tour, it's been the same. It's been, low 70s, zero wind, and just make as many birdies as you can. And, the scores are good as always, but the tour did a really good job of trying to manipulate ourselves around the weather. None of us actually played in, weather that could have been as bad as it was, just to kind of move some tee times around and so on and so forth to kind of give us a chance to play in the best weather we could. But it was colder than normal and just kind of unique. It was great leading up, and then once Thursday rolled around, the umbrellas and the rain gear came out pretty quick. So, but it was a nice week. Played solid throughout. Stayed patient. Kind of struggled getting the ball to go in the hole. I got the ball around the hole a lot. And, was fortunate enough to kind of have a strong finish eagle birdie to end out the tournament. So definitely a nice way to end a good week and move on to a place in San Diego that I love.
Yeah, not too shabby finishing the way you did. And what, top 10 finish, T8, I believe?
Yeah, I finished 8th by myself, but, nice way to start the year here, and, kind of get, hopefully kick off to the season the way I think I can play, and definitely the way I think I'm capable of. Awesome.
And then heading to Torrey Pines, a place that you're obviously familiar with from 2014, so it should be feeling pretty comfortable there, I would hope.
Yeah, I mean, the North course has been changed, but, the golf course is what it is, and it's a, really cool atmosphere. It's a place that, takes a little bit of you getting used to as far as, when you're out there, because, I mean, it's pretty easy to get distracted, whether, the difficulty of the golf course or the crowds or the fact that, the ocean is so close. It's just pretty amazing place if no one's ever been there. So it kind of took me a little bit to kind of get my feet wet and kind of figure out exactly what's going on. But, not that I have the magic formula by any means, but kind of figured out what I need to do to play well out there. And, for the most part, I've been able to do it the last few years.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to watching it, and it's always such a cool place to watch. It's just the scenery and everything. So definitely we'll be pulling for you out there. One of the things that we like to do with the show here is, bring somebody like you on, bring on the experts that we bring on. We love to kind of get a little more background about you. We constantly see you guys playing on the weekends. We get to, see the golf. We get to see some of the interviews, but we don't necessarily get to know you, Scott Stallings, as the person and, the background behind your story and how you got to where you are today. So if you could, just give us a little idea of, where did you grow up? What sports did you play growing up? Family life, what do you have going on there? Just share a little bit of that with us if you could.
Yeah, I was born just outside of Boston, and as you can tell by my accent, I didn't spend very long there.
Yeah.
And my dad's from Tennessee, my mom's from New England, and as soon as they kind of got sick of cold weather and moved back to Tennessee where my dad's from, and I grew up just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, a place called Oak Ridge. And, that's kind of where we've been in that East Tennessee area for, the last 26 years now. Man, I'm getting old.
Welcome to the club.
So I grew up in East Tennessee, and so I met my wife. We've actually known each other since we were in kindergarten. So
No way.
We've been married 10 years this year in August, and we have 2 kids. My son Finn will be 4 in February, and our daughter Millie was born in March, and she'll be 1. So coming up pretty soon. So our life is pretty hectic as it is, but growing up, I played everything you could sports-wise, backyard, recreational, organized, you name it. I played it as much as I possibly could. Golf was always something that I did with my parents. My dad was a good player growing up, and something we always did when I was a kid, but nothing I really kind of focused on. It was just kind of something that I enjoyed doing, and a bunch of people in my family did it, so we just kind of did it. And we always watched the Masters there in April. My birthday is the last week in March, so golf was, and it was pretty close to spring break, so golf was pretty high on my priority list around that time of the year. And the year Tiger won the Masters in '97, the day before my birthday, I made a hole-in-one, my first hole-in-one ever. And then the next week, Tiger wins the Masters the way he did. And I called my baseball coach the Monday after. I said, Coach, I'm not coming. We were on a competitive team that played, 50, 60 games a year, and we were getting ready to start spring practice and kind of get ready to go into the summer where all of our tournaments and everything was. And he asked me what I was going to do, and I was 13 years old, told him I'm going to play golf.
No way.
And he just kind of like, you're going to do what? And, golf was without question, the lowest sport on my ability list at the time. And, it was definitely something that I could do when I was doing it a lot, but you could definitely tell when I was, doing other things, between baseball, basketball, and soccer, it was kind of all my time was tied up in that. And, golf was there when I wasn't doing the other things. So it's kind of a unique decision to make at such a young age. And, but I loved it, just seeing the way that he dominated and just, the youth of the game, and kind of just to take a course like that I'd seen such a young age and just be able to do things that no one else has done is, kind of what caught my eye. And, now having the opportunity to be out here on tour, for the last 7 years and playing with him, someone that obviously encouraged you to chase a dream, and now have an opportunity to be out here with him is something that I'm pretty proud of. And, not a lot of people get a chance to do things like that.
That's got to be so crazy, going from knowing that when you were a 13-year-old kid, you watched him, he was your influence, and really kind of the deciding factor that really made you make that decision. And now you get to see him on a weekly basis, or whenever he's out there, obviously. But so have you played in any pairings with him?
Yeah, we got paired together. I played with him a few times, but the first time we got paired was the third round at Memorial. We're in the second to last group, and obviously he's had a great amount of success there at Jack's place. And it was a surreal feeling because, you watched him so many times, and, I know more of his shots than I know of my own. And, it was just really cool to watch it. I kind of, he made the Stinger 3-wood cool, and that's kind of as a kid in college, a shot you learn how to hit. And the very first hole at Muirfield's like a little, you kind of chase 3-wood out there, and kind of get something running in the fairway, and kind of runs down to the bottom of the hill and kind of go. And I was first to hit, and I'm just like, if there's ever a time in my life I wanted to hit a good tee shot, especially knowing like that's the shot I hit on that hole. Like, it wasn't just because Tiger was there, this and that. Man, I got up there and I just laced this little bullet out there, 280 right in the middle of the fairway, and he just looked at me and said, I've seen that shot before.
Nice.
And it kind of got off to, just a good start, and, was able to play with him, enjoyed the opportunity to kind of be around with him. And just, I told him walking up 18, I said, hey man, I don't mean to be weird by this, but, I just want to say thanks. I don't want anything from you. I don't want you to do anything, I just want to tell you thank you for encouraging a kid from Tennessee to chase his dream, and I appreciate everything you've done for the game. And that was kind of a cool moment for me in my career and something I'll never forget. He said, man, thanks. Like, you have no idea how many people ask me to do things or so on and so forth. Like, I just want to tell you thank you.
Wow.
And so that was just, kind of my story is how I got into golf and played in high school and kind of transferred over. Kind of put a bunch of hopes and dreams into that I was going to go play golf in Tennessee, and had some offers to play some other places, and ended up Tennessee decided to make a decision to go another direction, and ended up in the last place in the world I ever thought I'd be, at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, Tennessee. And at the time I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and probably at the end I would say it's one of the best. And some of my best friends in the world came from there, and guys that are a part of my life on a daily basis are guys that are on that team. And we had an awesome coach that was super influential as far as trying to help me pursue golf as a profession as my career in college progressed. And a lot of time spent with some really, really good guys, and just kind of a really cool time of my life that I look back on. And I tell all these high school and junior golfers that we talk to all the year, don't wish it away. And it's just a time of your life you're never going to get back, and a time of life that every one of us on the PGA Tour wish we'd have another year to go play and be with our buddies, because it's a grind out here. It's a dream come true to be on the tour, but there's other times where it's like, man, like, to go and that 73, 74 is going to be covered up by one of your buddies that kind of covers you up that day and plays better where your score doesn't have to count. It's pretty, just something that is totally different than playing out here for day in, day out. Something that I miss every now and then.
That's interesting to hear. So, kind of a different perspective than a lot of us would think. Hearing you've going to the PGA Tour, it's like that's the big dream. But always we all do that. We all kind of look back and remember how great it was, our college years, or whether that was sports or whatever. And the time we got to spend with our buddies and things like that. I had a young junior golfer that kind of posed a question for you. We kind of reached out to the audience and asked for a few questions, and one of them was, first, when did you decide you wanted to be on the PGA Tour, which obviously was at age 13, but then his next question was, then what was that road like? So from age 13 to, the time that you made it onto the tour, was it, and I'm sure there were ups and downs, but his question was it fun? Was it hard? Was it disappointing? Was it a little bit of everything? How would you describe it?
It was all. It was times a question like, what in the world am I doing? Like, and then there's other times like, man, I don't want to do anything else, and so on and so forth. Because when you're in college, you're constantly told when to do things, like when to practice, when to eat, how to get to tournaments, so on and so forth. Like, everything's kind of taken care of for you. Like, and then when you turn pro, it's like, man, I got to make these decisions. So, the maturity level that I have at, 31 compared to when I was, 22 getting out of college, thank God I was getting married and had my wife to kind of be there to be a good influence as far as how I manage my time. But just kind of a unique deal and a transition that, as my career progresses, I hope I get an opportunity to kind of go and help guys, because you see a lot of really, really good players coming out of college, and guys that are, shoe-ins to be, PGA Tour players, and all of a sudden, get out and kind of get on their own, and not necessarily a bad decision, but it's just new. You're the boss. You're the one that's, making the call day in, day out, how they feel like they need to get better. And, unfortunately, not a lot of people have a bunch of guidance, when they get out. So I think that's something that I would like to do is, I get a little older and, be an opportunity to kind of speak into some young guys' lives and hopefully guide them and, get them where they want to be. So as I got out of college, I had some guys from Tennessee kind of help me get going, and I had no idea how to turn pro and, kind of what that looked like. And I remember in college, your senior year, you get, or I don't know, junior, senior year, you get a week to go interview for jobs, and you get to miss class, and, kind of everyone goes and interviews, and you have to write up like what you interviewed for and your, proposed, area of work you want to look into. And so my advisor at the time was the guy kind of ran that program. And I just wrote a letter to him, said, I'm going to go play golf for a living. I don't need to do this interview process. And he wrote me one simple email back. He said, how are you going to pay for it? And I said, and literally I'd sent him back question marks. Didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, I had no clue. I was probably 20, 21 years old at the time, no clue. Literally seeing guys go out and play on tour and all this and that. And, never didn't know what Q school cost, didn't think about travel, didn't know about how I was going to pay for a tank of gas to drive to the golf course. I didn't know anything.
Right.
And so we made it a deal that we were going to meet once a week and kind of go over a plan as far as just kind of to set up, my professional golf career as a business. And just like you'd set up kind of a pro forma perspective, we had set out a plan, kind of a cost, kind of approximate schedule, and kind of a timeline to take from, graduating college to the PGA Tour. And it was a unique deal. He'd done a ton of work and found out a lot more than it didn't take me very long to figure out there's way more to it than I thought. And I think that's what kind of catches people off guard, when they get out of school, just the complexity of a lot of different things, just, how to get from A to B. And, there's a lot more that goes into it than people would probably think. So I did that. I was sorry. I was lucky to have some really good guys kind of help me financially from Knoxville kind of get going, and was able to kind of, make it where it wasn't a huge financial burden on my family to kind of chase my dream. And I played mini tours for a year and a half. Then I made it to Q school, got my web.com card, and played a year out there, and was fortunate enough, not through the web.com, but when you play well enough, but when Q school used to be straight to the PGA Tour, if you played well enough, you got to go straight to finals. And so you had your web.com card, you couldn't better your status anywhere, but you basically got to go to finals for nothing. And so it was a kind of a free and clear shot to go try and finish in the top 25 and get your card. And fortunately, I was able to do that. And I've been on the PGA Tour for the last 7 years. And
correct me if I'm wrong, but the first time that you went to Q school, you missed that number by one stroke. Is that right?
I missed a few different ways. The first year, I missed on the number at first stage. And that was right out of college. I mean, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Didn't really understand the importance. I mean, I knew Q school was really important, but just how to manage your time and, the value of par, it's weird when you're playing an event and, the guy that finishes first and the guy that finishes 15th gets the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just totally different from just how to kind of mentality wise, just, trying to win an event and literally trying to place, it's just, you still kind of go with the same mentality, but, some of the course management decisions and stuff that go along with that kind of, it's just a little bit different. And I wasn't prepared for that. So I think that's something that, I need to learn. And, but I, kind of figured it out, just trial by error, I guess. And then, was able to make it. I went to first stage twice, missed. The third try, I went and made it all the way to finals. And I was in, I forget the year, but it was at Bear Lakes. And I missed like an 8-footer on the last hole to get my tour card. That's where I missed my tour card by a shot. Oh, and at the time I was devastated, like absolutely devastated. And looking back, like I could not imagine how devastated I'd have been if I'd have made it. Just how unprepared I felt when I actually got my tour card compared to at the time without playing the web before.
Right.
I mean, playing the web for a year was, I mean, I couldn't imagine what I'd have done if I didn't do that. I came out on tour in 2011. I missed my first 5 cuts. I was a disaster. And just kind of learned how to, manage all that. And, just looking back, it was definitely a period of grace that at the time I was unwilling to accept, but I was thankful for it now that I look back on it.
Well, that's something that a couple people asked me to ask you was, in a situation like that, first just, missing your tour card by a single putt. And then, of course, when you did get on the tour, you missed some cuts at the beginning. How do you deal with that? How do you then go out and, muster it up? Or is there something that you rely on, or are there people that you kind of lean on, your support group or whatever, that you really use to help you get through and just continue to improve every day? Or where do you go and how do you find that strength?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys out here. I mean, the tour is pretty insulated as far as, we've got some chaplains and some guys in some Bible study and so on and so forth to kind of help, just a solid support group. Because, you find yourself complaining about stuff and, really it's, you make yourself feel guilty because I'm complaining about, playing golf for lots of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, if you really look at it that way, you start to feel silly, but at the end of the day, you feel like you're blessed the ability to do something really well, and when you don't do it, it's disappointing. And, I think that I was very fortunate. I had some really good people around me early in my career, and, I still, 7 years in, those people are still in there. Some of my, biggest supporters, right here with me. My wife is a huge influence in that. And, I think, surround yourself with like-minded people that are going to push you to your goals and try to help you achieve them, and make sure you stay on task and, your mind stays sharp and, kind of pushes you toward those every single day to try to improve. And, I think consistency is the thing, not, the moment that you start acting because you feel like something bad's going to happen. If I don't do this and something bad's going to happen, so I'm going to do this and just consistently every single day get better. And, I think that's kind of where the mindset flipped a little bit. If I don't practice, I'm going to miss this cut. If I don't work on my putting, I'm going to putt terrible. Just, kind of the attitude of fear instead of the attitude of just, hey, I got this. I'm gonna roll with it. I have a plan. I know what I got to do to get better, and I'm gonna go execute it and kind of take it as it comes.
Is that something that you felt you kind of built up over time, or have you always had a little bit of that in there?
I don't know. I definitely have gotten better at it. I struggle with it from time to time, even now. But I think I was very fortunate when I was a rookie. I had the same manager as Kenny Perry, and he'd been out here. I give him such a hard time, but he'd been out here for 100 years, and they're just a guy I looked up to as his playing. Great guy. We met him in a college tournament my freshman year, and I was just like, man, awesome dude, great stories, and obviously super successful career, and had an opportunity to play a bunch of practice rounds with him and hang out with him and go to dinner and ask questions and do all sorts of things that a lot of guys in my situation probably shouldn't have the opportunity to do. And kind of the turning point, he helped me get he was sponsored by Transitions. That was in Tampa, and he was sponsored by him at the time, and he helped me get a sponsor exemption. The only way I got in that tournament was because of him. Like, no one in Tampa had ever even heard my name. And just slowly through his relationship with him, he kind of put his neck out and gave me an opportunity. And we'd always put practice rounds together on Tuesday, and we got out and started playing, and I don't remember what I did. I maybe made an eagle and a couple birdies or something like that through the first 4 or 5 holes, and literally the par 5, number 5, you kind of hit up and over the hill, and we're in the middle of the fairway, and I hit this wedge in there close, and I kind of give him like a little you're in for it today, and he just lost it. And kind of like a dad that's fed up with a kid that, knows they should be doing better, but they consistently don't. Yeah. That's kind of what happened. I've definitely had the conversation with my own son that kind of the same tone that Kenny had with me. As a grown, 25, 26-year-old man, having a father-like figure basically scold you in the middle of a fairway on a PGA Tour is pretty humbling. And I mean, like hands on hips, just like, why are you playing so bad on tour? I see you play and you're playing good. You have the game, this and that. Like, what's the deal here? Like, what, where are we messing up? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. And I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't like super defensive, like had no clue. And he's just sitting there just basically like encouraging me and making fun of me at the same time.
Right. As any good father figure would.
Yeah. So like, I remember walking to the next hole. I was asking my caddies, like, does he think I'm good or does he think I need to do something else? And like, I wasn't necessarily sure. So he just kept pumping me up all day. And, I played my way. I made my first cut ever on tour the week before, and he was super encouraging kind of through that. And going into Tampa, we had dinner with him Saturday night, and I was in the second to last group going in, and played with a good buddy of mine, Webb Simpson. It was kind of a good group for me, a guy to play a lot of golf with. And Kenny and I had dinner the night before, and he just continually pressed into me and just tried to give me as much advice as you could need from a guy that's had the kind of career he did. So having an influence like that at such an early age and part of my career was something that was definitely a huge blessing. And I cannot continually say thanks to him enough. I saw him a few weeks ago and had dinner, and just like, man, there's no way I'd have been here if it wasn't for you this early in my career. So thanks every time I see him.
It's so amazing to hear the story behind it, and just to see somebody to kind of take a guy under his wing like that. I'm sure that is a story that several other guys on tour have, those people that they look towards. But I've heard nothing but incredible things about Kenny Perry, and obviously he's always fun to watch. And you're right, he has been out there for 100 years, so it's good to see him passing on his wisdom to a youngster. All right,
absolutely, he's been great.
I want to chat about something that you and I have kind of conversed over our emails about a little bit, and we want to get into both the struggles and the failures that you've had on the tour. And I know that about 18 months ago, you had a situation that definitely was what I would assume you would call a struggle in your career, but you said you've learned a lot from it. Could you kind of share a little bit about what the situation was and then what has come from that?
Yeah, it's just kind of a unique scenario, and golf's a weird game, and where we call penalties on ourselves, whether a million people see it or no one. And I've been going through some health problems, and just couldn't figure out, like, I wasn't feeling well. Kind of in and out of the doctor, and having physicals and blood tests and all kinds of stuff, and literally like couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. And wake up, be up for a couple hours, and go back to bed for 4 or 5 hours, and no energy, no desire to get out and practice. Kind of going through the motions in life, pretty much. Now, I wasn't doing anyone any good, especially myself, my wife, or anyone. And just trying to figure out what in the world was happening. And I was with a doctor in Tennessee, and she said, hey, until we kind of figure this out, this is something that may help you with your energy levels. And, I bought it at a grocery store and never thought anything of it. It was $10, and I took it for probably 30 days. And in the process of while I took it, I was drug tested and I passed. And literally, like, never gave it a second thought. Like, knew that my intention was never to gain an advantage on a player, nor do anything that was against the rules of the tour. And we had a meeting early in 2015 regarding the tour being involved in the Olympics, and golf was going to be a focal point of that, and just the criteria to play in the Olympics, and kind of the scrutiny that you were under compared to like the normal guidelines. And they just encourage players to call and just say, hey, the doctor, whether it's doctor or trainer or, whoever advised you, just, make sure, because the lists are different. And so I called that Monday and kind of talked through with the tour guys and said, hey, this is something this is why I took it. This is who told me to take it. This is all the documents. This is everything. And this is how long I've taken, the dose and everything. And they were probably, it was a period of about a day, called me back and said, unfortunately, what you've taken is on the ban list. And I was in shock. I mean, to my own ignorance, ignorance is an excuse. It's definitely my fault for not looking into it as diligent as I could. But at the end of the day, I have to follow their rules, whether you agree with them or not. And according to their policies and procedures, admitted use of a banned substance, irrelevant of a positive test, is a violation. And so basically, if you told them you did it, whether you passed or not, you did it.
Wow.
And so I had a 3-month suspension, and was able to use that time as an opportunity to kind of make my health a priority. And, health was something that I definitely took for granted. And for the next, few months, I kind of utilized that as trying to figure out what in the world I was going to do, moving forward, because the direction I was going wasn't going to last very long. And so, it was definitely a turning point in my career. And, as far as, my health wasn't a concern, and I totally took it for granted, and, thought I'm young, kind of get away with whatever. And, I guess whenever I need to, I'll take it seriously. And, it was kind of a major wake up call for myself as far as what was going on. The next few months were a little scary. We didn't really know a diagnosis as far as what was going on, because through this whole time, I wasn't feeling any better. It was just kind of masking some symptoms, and, wasn't necessarily fixing the problem.
Did you guys ever figure out what was causing it, or, what ended up being the remedy for it?
Yeah, it was kind of a myriad of deals, but through the course of 7 months, I had my blood drawn 41 times.
Oh my gosh.
And, I felt like at the end I could have done it myself. And, just in and out of, doctor's offices and, labs and so on and so forth. We were able to get a hold of a guy kind of like House. It was as crazy of a TV show as that. People like that actually exist. And he reached out to me and just called and said, hey, I've got one day I can meet you, and we'll figure it out. And I spent 5 or 6 hours with this guy and went over all my labs, did a bunch more tests and so on and so forth. And he literally sat me down in his office. He started out the conversation. He said, well, you're not going to die. And I was just like, that was an option?
Yeah, right. I didn't know that was on the table.
And he said, yes, that was an option. I was like, okay, I guess I probably need to evaluate my thoughts on this conversation. And he's like, well, you're not going to die. I said, but what you got going is not good. And he said, but it can be fixed. It can be fixed. And he kind of wrote down some tests. He said, you don't need me to do these. He said, you can do them. And he said, but you need to do them in this order to try to paint the picture as far as what's happened. And, through some stuff that, I just started kind of getting into the fitness scene, kind of starting to work out, starting to kind of get an idea of what I was doing, and started trying to eat a little better and so on and so forth. And never thought about being allergic, never thought about, this stuff comes strongly recommended, from nutritionists and all this and that, super healthy. And never in my life thought once I could be allergic to anything. And I found out some kind of protein that I was taking into it. I was super allergic to it, and I had obstructive sleep apnea and a couple other things, and just kind of a combination of all of it was just kind of disastrous.
Wow.
And I had sinus surgery and kind of fixed all that, and kind of helped some stuff I was having with my breathing, just how it kind of help out my sleep quality. And I kind of eliminated some things from my diet, and just saw the energy level start to increase. And my attention to detail was higher. My like when you talk to any golfer you want, I can tell you shots I hit when I was a kid, and literally to be on tour and play shots and not remember them the next day is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's just something that, like my memory, like I couldn't, like it was scary. And so I look forward to that. And as far as just every day, I mean, it's still a process, just kind of learning how, we've had some great guys reach out to me through this whole thing with the tour and just try to help educate guys. Because as much as it was unfortunate that it happened to me, like I don't want that to happen to anyone else. And, it's my own ignorance and my own, lack of just, doing the due diligence. I know I can lay my head down on the pillow knowing I didn't intend to do anything wrong. And, that was never a goal or anything. It was just my health was the number one priority. Golf was not even in the realm of thought. It was just, hey, I feel awful if I'm going to do anything for my family, my career, whatever. Like I've got to take care of this. And, I'd make a joke about it. It didn't matter that I got suspended for 3 months as bad as I was playing. I needed some time off. So, it was things happen like that in your career that, for a reason, if it was my choice, I wouldn't have had it go that way. But I look back on it, my voice became stronger, just through a whole, dealing with adversity and kind of how it wasn't the way I envisioned it going in my career as far as have to, face something like that and kind of face some questions and accusations that kind of came along with something like that. But I learned to answer questions with authority and know like where I stand on certain situations and be able to, look my son in the eye at night knowing that, hey, your dad had a great opportunity to kind of let it shy away and he didn't. No one would have known about it. Mm-hmm. I could have just stopped taking it, but I would have known. And, as a golfer, as a husband and a father, I think that's something that, a value that I hopefully be able to instill in my children, and something that, as many times I look back on it and ask myself why I did it. I don't say that to be patted on the back. I just say, man, like, I feel like we're called to be men of integrity, and, whether I like the outcome or not, like that's the way I chose to act.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the beautiful things of the game of golf, and, just that etiquette in general. And it has to be extremely difficult in those situations. And, I've never played competitive golf, obviously to the level you are at all, but, being in a situation like that and being out there by yourself and calling a penalty on yourself on the course, but also in the same situation here outside of the course. But it's all still part of the game. And I was going to ask if you ever look back and regret saying anything, or if you kind of look at this as almost a blessing in disguise, because sounds like it did end up giving you some time to kind of really refocus and get things figured out. And do you ever look back and think like, man, if I didn't call that on myself, where would I be health-wise, or what would be going on with me right now, or would I even still be on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely look at it like that, because, I mean, obviously, like I said, everything happens for a reason. I mean, I know it's kind of a cliche answer, but I think that you truly look back over it. I mean, the last 18 months, I mean, the amount of relationships and people I've been able to speak to about this, like just in regard of, the guy that violated the policy, so on and so forth, is like, yeah, but man, look at what happened after. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, the guy took charge of his health, his life. I mean, trying to create a legacy in my family, with my wife, my son, and my daughter, just as far as to, where it's, I mean, I only get one of these. I get one life, I get one body. And, once it's gone, it's gone. And I think that, so many people take, health and life for granted, that, just like I did. And hopefully I can instill that in my kids and the other people I come in contact with, just to where, that, becomes just as much as I try to improve my golf game and so on and so forth, try to improve my life, improve my health, just as much. And I think that's something that goes along with it.
I love that. And that's
really that definitely wouldn't have happened, definitely would not have happened if, this whole process had not taken place.
Isn't it amazing how sometimes the biggest challenges end up being some of the pivotal points in our lives and really kind of changing what happens in the course of our future? And like you said before, it's not anything you would have thought was going to happen or ever wanted to happen, but it sounds like it had a huge impact on your career and where you're going, and hopefully a very successful career from here on out.
I think I agree with all that. I think it's just a unique scenario, and I think a lot of attitude and the people you surround yourself have a lot to do all that. And, something that, I definitely, it'd be ignorant of me to, the support group that I have around myself is something that is like, it's hard to really say a lot about them just because, it's kind of a constant, it's not necessarily just kind of like, you go do stuff every day. I mean, these people, that's who they are in my life, and, something that, kind of go in and out as far as helping me make the decisions I do, and kind of my plan for the day, and, kind of help me, continue to be accountable to the things I say I'm going to do and make sure that I do them.
As far as, your fitness and your health and this kind of new path that you've kind of taken on in the last, I guess, 18 months or so since you really started to work on these things, what are some of the fitness-related and health-related focuses that you've instilled in your life? I mean, obviously, we know you go to our buddies down at PFS, Greg and Andrew and Brandon, work out with those guys. They were kind enough to hook you and I up together to get the show going today. But what are some of the big changes that you've made? And that's golf-related, but also just not golf-related, also just life in general.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the guy... I work with a guy that's from Tennessee, and his name's Adam Curley, and he's actually here with me now. I mean, he just got done dominating me with some therapy, and he's a physical therapist by trade, but he's in incredible shape. I mean, he's old as dirt, but he's
he must be
he's
sitting
in incredible
right there.
shape. Yeah. So we just give him a hard time because he's an old man, but he's got some of the best looking triceps I've ever seen. But, just kind of utilizing some just manual therapy and just kind of basic, strength stuff. I mean, we started out like 30 minutes on the table and like 3 sets of 10, like, TRX row and, maybe like some med ball throws, and that's probably about it, and we're done. And now, it's a lot more. It's definitely escalated as my health has gotten better. I mean, I'm stronger, fitter. The guys at Premier have been an incredible tool that we've utilized. My mobility, when I first started at Premier, was non-existent. I wouldn't even say I had any. Like touching the ground, touching my toes was a challenge. And they're just like, man, I cannot believe you play golf for a living, and just how poorly I moved and so on and so forth. So I think it's just something that, it's just kind of progressed as my ability has gotten better, and, just kind of made it just as much as my golf game is as a priority as far as daily improvement. So is my fitness and my health. And I think it's just kind of interesting, as one gets better, the other gets better. Mm-hmm. And just as kind of as my mobilities improve, legitimately since I started working with Brandon and Greg and kind of implementing some of the stuff they have with Adam, like literally I cannot think of a day that my back has bothered me.
Wow.
I mean, there's been some days, some deadlift days and, some other stuff that have kind of gotten where it's like, man, my back is sore, but literally no part of the day where like I could not tee it up and play on tour today.
Is that something that used to bother you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I fought, I hung back, kind of flipped it in impact because I couldn't get it in my left side. I mean, I couldn't independently move my hips and my shoulders. My first TPI assessment was a disaster. It was pretty comical just how much compensation I had to do on a daily basis to try to compete. And it kind of changed the way I swung a little bit. I turned into the ball way more. I used to hit a big high draw, and now I hit a fade. Just the wear and tear on my body is so much less than it was, just because of all the stuff that I've done to kind of improve on a daily basis. It's amazing. Like, I could go to the gym, warm up, do some mobility, this and that, 15, 20 minutes, and go right to the tee and have no problem. That did not exist. It was like, hey, I got to get out there. I got to hit a lot of balls. I got to make sure I'm feeling right, and so on and so forth. And, as ignorant as I was at the time, I kind of based how my body felt as tight as my right QL felt. And that's not a good gauge as far as how your golf game is.
No, not at all. It's almost scary to think that with your body not moving the way that it was, that you still were able to get to the highest level of the tour and play the way that you do. So now, these guys better look out now that you're moving well and you're feeling good, and the body's doing what it needs to do to play some good golf.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes a long way. I mean, some may say I go a little overboard or so on and so forth, but I mean, anyone that has met me said I try not to do anything halfway. And I try to, as much as I've tried to learn and improve my golf game, as much as I try to learn and improve, things in the fitness world. I mean, like, if you'd have come to me 3 years ago and said, show me how to snatch, show me how to, do a hang clean, show me how to do a proper deadlift, show me, like, I don't know what that is. Like, I think you might as well speak in Chinese to me. I didn't have a clue. And, just as far as how, like, some of the, like weightlifting movements and, training movements kind of correspond to just mobility indicators, for golf. It's just pretty crazy just to control a deep squat with no weight and just go down to the ground and, break parallel and stay back in your heels. Like, that was a pipe dream 3 years ago. And to now, like, to maintain it, hold it out of the bottom, and, like, we did dumbbell squat snatches the other day, and, like, just laughing, like, as I'm doing them, like I can't, like, just my shoulder stability, my able to hold the weight up over my head, just as far as how it's not necessarily to pump me up as far as, some great weightlifter, but just like the ability to be able to do that, and how that transcends into my ability to withstand, 30 tournaments a year, pounding balls, just because my body is so much more resilient and able to handle just the wear and tear of the tour.
Yeah. Speaking of the wear and tear, what does your weekly schedule look like? So on a week that you're traveling, kind of, workouts and stuff like that, what does your workout schedule look like? I mean, obviously we know you're playing Thursday through Sunday, but then, like, I guess one of the days is a pro-am. When do you squeeze in the workouts, and what do they kind of look like?
Most of the time, like, coming from an off week, so say, like, I haven't played the week before, most of the time, depending on where I'm going, I'll travel Sunday. Travel Sunday, kind of help my Monday be an acclimating day, just to, whether time zone, climate, whatever, just kind of give me a day, like, to, kind of get a feel for what's going on. And that's kind of, Monday's normally the heaviest lifting day, and heavy's relative to, home and away. And when we're on the road, like, I know what my job is. My job's to play golf. My job's to, be a PGA Tour player. And I understand that's where my priority lies. But I mean, there's some aspects of the week that kind of build resilience towards the, what you have in the tank coming down the stretch. And, that's the stuff that's kind of, built early in the week and kind of established it at an early part as far as, when you're training and so on and so forth. So, Monday's normally there's some kind of like lower lifter day, deadlifts, whatever you want to call it, front squat, back squat, whatever, and be able to kind of incorporate some kind of, lower body, pretty basic lifts, and kind of, get the blood flowing and going from there. And Tuesday's a little bit more of an upper body, whether it's some kind of bar complex or, kettlebell complex or, so on and so forth, and kind of build that into, all integrated with mobility. I mean, everything, has some mobility basis to it, whether a partner and one's doing a lift and one's doing mobility. I mean, it's not necessarily, we just do the mobility at the front end and that's it, just kind of integrated throughout. Mm-hmm. And, just where it's a constant focus, and, whatever we're getting ready to do workout wise, the focus is making sure the body's moving properly to be able to execute it, to the best of my ability. And, Wednesday is more of we integrate a lot of landmine, a lot of rotational strength, and be able to kind of get more golf specific. I mean, I hate golf specific terminology. I think that's to just the connotation.
I love that you just said that, by the way.
I mean, I truly hate it. Like, you do all these Q&As and like, oh, what golf specific workouts do you do? And I'm like, none, zero.
I love that.
Like, and I mean, there's some like rotary specific stuff we do, some band stuff, some isolation stuff, so on and so forth. But if you think about it, like, if my body's strong and my like I move well, like, how am I not going to be a better golfer? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just like, I mean, McElroy has gone back and forth with Brandel about being strong and this and that, and how your body can't move well. But I agree 100% with what Rory said. And we've had this conversation, him and I, just as far as like, being in good shape and being strong. That's not wrong. Right. Like, don't make us feel like it's wrong just because it's new. And like, I get a chance to work out with a bunch of really cool guys, and their mobility is sick. And just how well their body moves and how they feel, and just, I don't understand how that's not going to help you be a better player. So Wednesday is more of a kind of plyometric circuits with some rotary specific deals, and then we kind of taper more towards the intensity may go up, the time goes way shorter, and the weight goes down. And you kind of look at it from a bell curve, being Monday is the top of the bell, and it kind of tapers down as far as weight, but the intensity kind of comes back up, and it kind of ebbs and flows as the week goes. And we kind of taper it out into 2, 3, 4 week cycles as far as how, we kind of know where I'm going to be. We know what the gym's going to be like. I mean, a lot of that has to do with, our logistics, where we're going to have access to, and, so on and so forth. And kind of learned it through the last few years. And I mean, a lot of that kind of tapers to where we are. And, like Pebble's a tough week, logistics wise. I mean, you got 3 golf courses. It takes forever to play. And so when you get done, like, the energy level to go, crush a workout's just really not there. So early in the week, you're cognizant of just understanding, like, we got to have something in the tank for Sunday. I mean, it's an amazing week. Golf courses are awesome. But just, it's a process. And I think that's, understanding that, the week of, just kind of making sure, like, hey man, I'm going to do these things, but I'm going to plan well, I'm going to recover well, I'm going to take care of my stuff, the way I eat, the way I sleep, making sure that I don't neglect the important things as far as, when my name's called on Thursday.
I would imagine that's got to be so tough, just the travel, the constantly moving, different places, going to different locations, like you said. Now that you've been out there for several years, you kind of have an idea of where you're going next, what the facility is going to look like, which definitely would help you plan ahead, I would assume. I want to touch base on just kind of one other topic regarding like practice and what you do out there before we jump into just kind of a little quick Q&A at the end here. How do you know what to work on, like, week to week, or how do you determine where you're going to spend most of your time? Because I would assume, a lot of your game is dialed in, and, you've only got so much time to practice and then, focus on some of the other things, the workouts. How do you determine what you're going to spend most time on from week to week?
I mean, a lot of it's from the green back. I mean, go where most of your shots are, and it's on the greens and around the greens. And, it's amazing, like, the stuff you've been able to accomplish. Like, I was like, oh man, you played great last week. It's like, well, I hit 50% of my fairways. I hit 60% of my greens, but I made every putt inside of 8 feet. those are the guys that win.
Mm-hmm.
And, the guys, it's just amazing, how much, the putter and the short game can kind of save tournaments. I think that's the stuff that makes the difference between, when the guys that are really good ball strikers stuff, when they get that stuff dialed is when they win. And just the guys that, the more consistent their short games are day in, day out, and the sharper they are, the more opportunity they have to win. And I think that's something that, I've definitely learned. And, I'm a good ball striker, so I'll just go keep hitting. And next thing you know, it's like, man, I haven't touched a putt in outside of 6 feet in, 2 weeks. Like, well, let's start working on that. My caddy is pretty influential as far as my schedule and kind of how I manage my time on the practice days. And my coach does a really good job as far as just kind of having some little drills and some kind of tests throughout the week, kind of see where we stand with everything. And I'm not a huge TrackMan guy as far as super technical, but there's a few things that we utilize TrackMan as far as to help practice. We use the wedge combine a lot. And I think, the better you are from inside 150 yards, the more opportunity you have to make birdie and, able to capitalize, when you do get the chance, you put the ball in the fairway and able to give yourself a putt. And, I've definitely improved on that a lot in the last few years. And the guys around me have kind of helped me, kind of come up with plans as far as to make sure week in, week out, I'm doing the things I need to do to be ready to go.
Are you a big stats guy? Do you keep track of a lot of your different things, percentages, and does that dictate some of it? Or I know some guys are either very much a stats guy or kind of completely not a stats guy.
I kind of let the guys around me utilize it, because that kind of stuff can kind of get in there and, be some dictators. I mean, there's some definitely tell-alls. Like, in my golf swing, there's a couple tell-alls, like if you were to look at TrackMan or so on and so forth. But there's some stats that are tell-alls as well. And, greens and regulation is a huge deal. The guys number one in greens and regulation, it's kind of hard to play bad when you hit more greens than everyone else. Right. And, just understand, like, scrambling, obviously the guy gets up and down more than everyone. That's a huge attribute to be able to have, whether you're playing good or whether you're playing bad. The guy's getting up and down for birdie and I'm getting up and down for par.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the birdie guy's going to win. And I think that's kind of you got to be able to kind of take it and understand, constructive criticism, and be able to understand that people around you are only going to try to help you get better. And, but the stats don't lie. And sometimes they're not pretty, but an understanding of, you got to understand where you can improve, before you can do it. Just mindlessly going out there, be like, I'm going to go work on my short game. Next thing you know, my caddy's like, hey man, we really need to work in this area. And so we go do it and set out a plan and go hammer it out. And, but I think you can't walk out there with, the stats for the tour every single week, and have that define you. I think you got to take, the focal points and really understand, like, hey, when I do this is when I feel, the most successful, and understand, the course dictates a lot of that. Some weeks 60% driving accuracy is at the bottom of the pack. And then you go to weeks like Sony where 60% is number one. And just understanding like that, like, I'm going to try to hit 70% of my fairways. Some weeks that's, very doable, and understanding just, how the golf course dictates, and, just, being able to utilize, good information week in, week out kind of helps you paint the picture as far as where everything stands, as far as what those stats truly mean.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think, sometimes we all tend, especially us guys, just go heck around. We tend to go out and practice and just, I think I should go hit the driving range. I know I should go hit the putting green, but without a real definite plan of attack to get out there. All right, Scott, before we kind of close out, I want to just have a little fun and get to know you a little bit more with what we've been calling our John Daly round lately. So just some quick questions, quick answers. But how would you describe yourself out on the course? Are you like a super competitive guy? Are you chatty out there? What's your demeanor when you're playing?
I'm pretty laid back, man. I try not to get too high and get too low. either one. I'd when I hit good shots, I get excited, but like that's most of my job.
Right.
I get it. I had a guy caddy for me, and I hit this awesome shot, and I went to give him like a high five, and he goes, "What do you want me to do, man? That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man."
Yeah,
but it was a good perspective. It was a good perspective for me to have as far as just, hey, man, you're a good player. That's what I expect you to do.
Right. Interesting. All right, Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Caddyshack.
Nice.
Man, I don't know. Bill Murray's amazing in that.
Have you ever played with him?
No, I have not.
That would be quite a round, I would imagine.
Yes.
Right, if you could have any of the other guys on tour caddy for you one day, who would it be and why?
Steve Stricker. No doubt. I would just, because if we ever got in a point in the round where your caddy could hit a shot for you, like, you had the caddy, like I'd win so much money on Tuesdays for the caddy shot.
Nice.
Like, it would be amazing. So some guys play like if like say you miss a short putt, like in a practice round or something, like your caddy can come, get a putt at it too and try to, cover you up. Like I'd do amazing. Have a Stricker on my bag would be awesome.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. But like his short game is, none of his game is flashy, like none of it. But anyone that's out there day in, day out and watch him chip and putt, like I can literally watch him sit and hit these little, 30-yard nip spinners to tight pins. And he just looks like he's just mindlessly going out there. And man, it's just so awesome. And like his around the greens and, obviously his putting speaks for itself, but just kind of the way he does it. And I think I can learn a lot from that.
Is he the best you've ever seen short game?
All around, I would say as far as most consistent. Now, like the wow shots and stuff, Phil's a joke. Saw him hit this shot at St. Jude. You should YouTube it. It's from 2013, the fourth hole. You can see me and Harris English on the green literally look at each other like, did he just do that? And that's just something that, I've seen him hit shots in person that I did not think were possible.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Is there anyone on tour that is a bit of a trash talker when you're playing with them?
Bunch of the older guys are trash talkers. I'm a member at Whisper Rock in Scottsdale. And, there's a bunch of tour guys out there, so you just kind of learn how to deal with it. If you show signs of weakness out there, they'll dominate you. So you're just kind of learning how to take it and how to give it back and kind of, throw the needle when you can. So, but you kind of learn it from some of the older guys.
Can't let those guys sense any bit of weakness, can you?
No, not at all.
All right. If you could play golf with anyone in the world, past, present, or future, who would it be? Why would you play with that person, and where would you end up playing? Doesn't have to be
like a foursome?
Doesn't have to be just one person. Doesn't have to be somebody in the world of golf. Could be anybody.
Man, I'd probably have to go with Tom Brady right now.
You just lost a bunch of fans, and you just might have gained a few fans by saying that.
The guy's amazing. I was born in New England, a huge Patriots fan, and obviously that's fresh in my mind right now. I'd probably change my answer in 5 minutes, but just off the top of my head, had an opportunity to meet with him with some Under Armour stuff a few times, but never had a chance to play with him. And just the mentality he has, obviously, super successful on the field, but just kind of the way he's managed it, at his age. And had an opportunity to be with Peyton sometimes and just kind of those guys are super successful for a reason. And whether you're a Patriots fan or whatever, whether you like them or not, you have to admire the fact the guy's 39 years old playing the 7th Super Bowl. Those numbers are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And just, kind of the way he faced adversity with all the Deflategate and whatever you want to say about that. But the guy missed 4 games in the start of the season and he's the MVP. I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
Yeah, he's pretty incredible. The golden boy.
Yeah, so. Yeah. So whether you're fans or Patriot fans or not, if you're a fan of sports, you just got to admire the effort and attention to detail that he puts day in, day out.
Totally agree. All right, for you, moving forward with 2017 this year, I mean, obviously it's the beginning of the season. You started out pretty hot. What would you consider as a very successful year for this season?
Making it to Atlanta. I've had an opportunity to play and tip my way into the third round of the playoffs a few times, and obviously, the ability to make a schedule based on the majors and the World Golf events is something that is desirable. Instead of like playing your way into them and changing your schedule, like knowing you're going to be in them is something that you can kind of work your schedule around. And I think that's something that, the FedEx Cup playoffs are a huge focal point of our season, and something that I think that, go a long way to kind of making, where we stand for the following seasons, and something that, I've never known that I was in the majors and World Golf events, the year before. And I think that's something that would, especially from a scheduling standpoint, from a time management standpoint, from a, just week in, week out standpoint, I think that would go a long way to kind of help move forward, and obviously be super successful to be in Atlanta and be in the South and play a golf course, East Lake, that I love.
Well, we're pulling for you, man. We're expecting big things out of you this year.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and if I can do anything in the future, I'd love to come back and try to chat it out some more.
You bet.
Useless stuff I can say.
No, man, we really appreciate having you on, and I know that the audience is they're really going to enjoy hearing the behind the scenes and, a little bit of what your week looks like and what your life looks like. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to come and hang with us.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for having me on, and look forward to hearing what you guys have to go in the future.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Scott.
Thanks.
All right, I want to thank you for joining us on today's episode of the 18 Strong Podcast. And if you want any more information on Scott or any of the things that we talked about in this episode, just go to 18strong.com and you can look up episode number 125, or just search for Scott in the search bar and this episode will come right up. I'm really excited to watch Scott over these next couple of years as he continues to grow as a player and continues to become a veteran on the PGA Tour with this newfound emphasis on his health and nutrition and life on and off the course. I think it's going to be really cool to see. Okay, one last thing before you go. If you haven't joined our private Facebook group, the 18 Strong Movement, it's a private group that we put together mainly for the listeners of the show, but also to connect with some of the great individuals that we've had on the show, guests, people that we've met in our journey here at 18 Strong. We would love to have you come and join the group. We spoke with a lot of our friends down at the PGA show this past week, some of the people that have been on the show, some of the people that are going to be on the show, and they're very excited about being a part of this group, which we're calling the movement. We see it as a place where we can all learn, we can all ask questions, and we can all interact, both the professionals, the players, and you, the golfer, to figure out how we can all continue to empower ourselves both on and off the golf course. So if you are on Facebook, which I know some of you may not be, but go look up the 18 Strong Movement. It's a private group, so you're going to have to ask to join. And then once we approve you, jump on in, introduce yourself, and start firing away with questions. We've had some great people join, and we're continuing to bring in a lot of the experts that we've had on the show. So it's going to be an awesome place for us all to just kind of hang out and get to know each other. So again, the 18 Strong Movement. And lastly, if you have not checked out Rad Roller, go to radroller.com. We want to thank those guys for helping us here at the show and sponsoring this episode and many of our other episodes. So radroller.com, use the code 18Strong. Like I said, you'll get your sweet discount. All right, thanks for joining us this week. We'll catch up next time. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong Podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.